Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for GWBC Radio's Open for Business. Now, here's your host.
Lee Kantor here, broadcasting live from WBENC's National Conference 2022. It's been 25 years for WBENC, and congratulations to them for that big achievement. Right now, we are proud to be having an interview with Linda Denny, past president of WBENC. Welcome, Linda.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
So 25 years, it's pretty amazing, isn't it?
You know, the WBENC founding story is very amazing.
So share with us.
It's just amazing that this organization, you know, came into being and actually has prospered and impacted women's businesses as much as it has. It's exciting to think about. The organization was in the works for many years. Originally, women business owners were being certified by the Minority Council. Mm-hmm. And so there were quite a number of women in certain locations around the country that were certified through the Minority Councils. But when the Minority Council had a new president come in and she said, well, you know, white women aren't minorities. This is for minorities. This is not for white women. And so she literally just made them leave. Even though many of them were very active in their councils.
Wow.
and all, so they basically got kicked out. But it was a blessing. I have thanked her many times. Because
it was unintended consequence, right?
Unintended consequence, that's right. And what happened is there were women, of course, that were kicked out were very upset about that. But there was a group down in Dallas, Texas, that were particularly upset about it. And so since there was a core group of corporate members down in that area, or corporations down in that area, that supported that particular council, they asked, would you, in fact, you know, help us start a women's council? There needs to be a women's council doing certification and, you know, replacing what we've just lost. And so, you know, they hem and hawed around about that for, well, maybe we can do that. I don't know, for quite a few years, frankly. So these ladies just finally got to the point where they'd had enough, and so they started being very aggressive about it. They went to the newspapers, they were on television, they were, you know, saying, you know, this is not right. And after a while, I think, frankly, they just shamed them into coming together to do it. But from the corporate side, also, they needed a council such as WBENC, mm-hmm. because they were, many of them, wanting to start using women's enterprises in their supplier diversity programs. But in order to do that, they were having to send their own staff out to review these businesses and to be sure that this really was
right.
a woman-owned business, not, you know, a man-owned business with a woman's name on it.
Right.
Because WBENC is looking at, you know, the ownership, operation, and control of a company. Mm-hmm. The certification does. So, in fact, they needed us. And so finally 11 corporations came together and decided that, yes, you know, we should do this. And so, long story there too, but to make it brief, they over time came together. They all put in a few bucks and said, okay, we can start this. The Susan Berry, the first president of WBENC, was hired to write the business plan and to help launch the organization, and she eventually then became the first president of the organization. And the organization started with a certification standard that was very similar to what the Minority Council
Sure.
uses. But they did that because that's really how, you know, there's regulations in federal law about how you can classify a business as minority-owned, women-owned, whatever. And so those standards had to be very similar.
Consistent,
anyway.
right.
Consistent, absolutely. And they're still consistent throughout the entire certification arena. regardless if it's veterans or people with disabilities or whatever. All the organizations that certify do so based on the same standards. And so because these several hundred women had gone through certification already,
right,
they grandmothered about 500 businesses.
So got a jump start.
Got a jump start, that's right, into the organization. They went out to many of the women's business development centers, and then there were other organizations that had been working with minority councils or were supporting women's businesses. And they became eventually the regional partners of WBENC. And WBENC is the national council that oversees the certification standards, et cetera. But it's the local organization.
The 14 RPOs.
That's right. It's
like
the Greater Georgia Business Council
right.
is the certification body for WBENC, or they actually do the physical process.
Right. They're the boots on the ground.
They're the boots on the ground, and it couldn't happen without them, believe me.
Right. Exactly. But was there always 14, or is that something that just kind of grew over time?
There's always been about 14. At one time there was 15, and during my tenure as president, we kind of rearranged some of the territories a little bit. One of the original councils had more states than they could really manage. Georgia, for example, was just one state. Well, that didn't make a lot of sense,
right, because
they were adjoining some of the states that they really needed to process and that weren't getting as much service as maybe they should have.
Right, you got to spread the love.
That's right. So, in fact, the Georgia Women's Business Council became the Greater Women's Business Council because
they use the G.
That's right, branding. Who wants to redo all those logos? So anyway, that is how the Georgia Women's Business Council, including both or all Georgia,
and
North and South Carolina, came into being, and it's been a really good change for all of the councils, and it functions much better with the arrangement that we have at this point in time.
So now, what is the kind of the state of women's business in your mind? You've seen this evolve over the years. Obviously, you've been doing this for a minute. How has women's business changed, or has it?
I think it has, and I think it's changed because people are more aware of it. You know, certainly there's been women's businesses since ancient times.
The beginning of time,
The beginning of time, and women are very entrepreneurial, and they're very creative, and they have a lot of focus and drive if they want to. Mm-hmm. Just ask any child,
right,
or many children.
But to have this community where it's so collaborative and everybody is helping everybody kind of get to a new level if possible. Are you finding that more and more women businesses are taking the leap to becoming certified, or is this something still you're fighting this fight of, hey, this is worth it, do the certification, get certified? You know, it's great that you're a woman-owned business, but this is important not only for yourself, but also for the greater good for the whole.
I think that story is being told, and, we're seeing a lot of growth. WBENC again started with 500 certified businesses.
And where are we at now about?
And I heard Pam say yesterday that it's almost 17,000 today.
Wow.
And during my tenure as president, we went from a little under 5,000 to right at 10,000. Mm-hmm. And so the momentum was really starting to grow. And in the last 11 years, then we've gone, to nearly 17,000. But what's exciting, too, is that we've seen certification work. Just yesterday, I had a conversation with a woman who was telling me about what an impact certification has had on her company. Mm-hmm. And I've seen businesses go from, not even quite $1 million in revenue to now $1 billion in revenue. And not every business has that capability.
Or that dream.
Or that dream,
right.
That's right. Not everybody wants a business of that size. But, the people that do can do it. And certification has been a really important part of that because it opens the doors to contracts. And, you still have to go and win the business the old-fashioned way,
right,
through service and price and, all of the things that it takes to compete in a contract opportunity. But, in fact, women are winning those opportunities, and suppliers that are the corporate supply professionals have told me so often, we love women business owners because we find so much better service sometimes, so much better communication, etc. And so that's exciting.
What does WBENC need more of? Do they need more of the business that's already $1 million that wants to be the $1 billion, or do they need more of the just getting started and dreams of being $1 million?
I think WBENC's always going to have a variety of those businesses. Mm-hmm. We have certified businesses that were already well over $1 billion. Now that's a job. I have to tell you.
Right. Well, it's hard to even put them in the same category. But then the brand new businesses sometimes use this as one of their first marketing tools, right,
which it certainly can be depending on what the business is. Mm-hmm. Now, the local dress shop, that's not going to work. But in fact, if you're a business that will eventually have a B2B type customer base, a business customer base, not consumer customer base so much, but, it's amazing what this can do. But you have to have the right expectations about that also. And that expectation, if you're a brand new business, is that you have to, take baby steps. And that means you're not going to walk into some big corporation and get a great big contract. That's not going to happen. Maybe you're going to do business with other WBEs.
Right.
Many of our women's business enterprises do business with each other.
And that's okay, though.
Oh, it's wonderful. Right. I mean, I always look for a woman business owner. When I'm buying something,
right,
I love that women-owned logo because it sure makes it a lot easier. But in fact, that may be the first step that a brand new business would take is seeking to do business with other smaller businesses, not maybe the giant corporations.
But that's part of the...
But that's the building process.
Right. And this is something you learn when you immerse yourself in the community. It's not like this lottery ticket that you join and you're like, where's my $1 million contract? I'm here now. It's not like that. You got to look at this as this is now part of my culture, and I am part of the community, and I got to kind of earn my way up the ladder. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to do the work, and I'm going to volunteer. I'm going to be a part of the group. So you can see I am a leader. I am a person that you can trust for this kind of work, and then work your way up the ladder. And then the opportunity is really, you can dream as big as you want to.
That's exactly right, and that's what's so exciting about WBENC is that as the leader of this organization, or a leader in this organization throughout many years, really almost from the very beginning, I could see those businesses come in, and I could see the growth and the excitement.
Right.
And, again, the businesses that were those $1 million businesses today are those, $800 million, $900 million, $1 billion businesses. And, you stand back and you think about the impact that those businesses have had on not just their employees, but their customers, their people
community
that they work with. I mean, the
ripples are real.
The ripples are real. There's a little... I spent 23 years in the financial services industry and in a corporate career as part of that. And we used to tell insurance agents that, a dollar spent in a community will multiply itself at least 7 times. Mm-hmm. And so, you think about those $1 billion businesses, just their payroll, the 7 times that dollar turns over in every community. Those small businesses are where business growth comes from in this country.
Right.
And that's exciting to help that.
Now, at this stage in your career, what is the most rewarding part of your journey? To see these people, like you said, starting out where they were just, a person with a dream, and now they have this entity and they're impacting, thousands and thousands of people. Do you have your own adventure? Are you on your own new entrepreneurial journey?
I worked so hard for so many years for all of this. When I retired from WBENC, I did quite a lot of consulting with various kinds of companies and organizations.
Large and small? Or?
Large and small. I helped what was at that point in time called the United States Business Leadership Network, which today is called Disability In. And they were wanting to start a certification program for their business owners that were disabled. Mm-hmm. And because they were not having any way of reaching into those corporate markets and, the bigger markets that they wanted to be able to reach to. So I was hired as a consultant and worked very closely with the organization for several years. Establishing that, we established the Service Disabled Veterans part of that program also. And so it was very exciting to work with them. And then also just structurally, how the organization was organized and how their board was organized and some of those kinds of things. I just did
the foundational structure of the organization.
The structure of the organization along with the certification program.
Right.
And help bring them some good people that I knew would do a great job in leading some of those sections of their adventure too. And I also worked with the National Veteran, NVOBA, a National Veteran-Owned Business Association. I always have to stop and think about how to say that. And help them start their certification programs. And also helped that organization be launched as a nonprofit organization because corporate members were really interested in making sure that a organization that they supported with their corporate dollars was one, and a certification organization, I should say, was one that had the standards that are pretty standard, throughout the industry. Or the certification industry, if you want to call it that.
It's
sure
becoming
an industry.
It feels like it now. There's a lot of them out there doing this kind of work.
The certification community, let's call it that.
All right.
Anyway, I've assisted them in launching both the organization and the certification program. Again, helped them find some great people. We thought about that one very differently, and so that certification program is done in a little different manner than what some like WBENC is. It doesn't have regional partners or that
but
kind of thing.
But the standards are similar, right?
The standards are the same.
That's the key, right? The consistency of the standards. So how they kind of do what they do is less important than as long as at the end of the day they're getting the result that everybody desires.
Well, the standard has to be the same.
Right.
It has to be the same across the board. And I'm very happy to say that NVOBA today and Disability In, with their service disabled veteran designations, they have agreed to just make that, to make reciprocity between the two. So if you're in the database for NVOBA and you're a service-disabled veteran, then you can be in the database for Disability
So you don't have to kind of create the wheel again.
So you don't have to go through it all again.
Right.
Because, frankly, the certification process is a pretty arduous one.
But it has to be. Like, it can't be something where you just check 4 boxes and you're done. It can't be like that if you want to keep those standards as high as you want to keep them.
Exactly right. We inspect what we expect.
Exactly.
And, that's a key management tool I learned long ago.
And it seems to be bearing fruit. It seems to be working pretty well.
So it's been wonderful to see those organizations really grow and prosper and the impact that they're having also.
Right.
And, certification has been kind of one of the things that I'm very proud of in my career. When I first came to WBENC, one of the very first things that Susan Berry assigned me to do was to work with the Gay Lesbian Chamber of Commerce, or National Gay Lesbian Chamber of Commerce, because they were wanting to set up their certification program. And it's, mature. It's been going for many years now. They've got thousands of businesses certified. And so it's great to stand back and just look at all of that chaos that I help cause.
Well, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, are you available on LinkedIn? Are you still doing consulting?
I am still doing some consulting. I basically am retired and play in my garden, except when I break my arm, as I have now. But other than that, yes, I most definitely am on LinkedIn and am available to
have conversation, to help people.
Have a conversation. I love promoting women's businesses and veterans businesses and businesses with persons with disabilities.
Right.
And it's just been such a rewarding thing for me throughout all these years.
Well, congratulations on all the success, and thank you so much for sharing your story. You're doing such important work, and we appreciate you.
Oh, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure to be with you.
All right, this is Lee Kantor broadcasting live from WBENC National Conference inside GWBC's booth 1812. We'll be back in a few.